Hello, Sunny Hill. We are looking at Mark chapter 10 today. Hope you're doing well. All the chapters I read in Mark were very beneficial to me to re-study them, re-look at them, refresh my memory about them. And what I liked in this chapter particularly was all the different issues of the heart that Jesus was addressing in all these examples. Mark was writing down all these various points, starting off with marriage and divorce, how God planned always for us to live as man and wife, and not institute opportunity to divorce through hardening our hearts. But that's one of the realities we live in, as well as realities of pride, where we maybe think we know better or more, where Jesus had to put his disciples right and ask them not to hinder the children to come to him. But there is also an example where a rich man comes to him and calls him good teacher. And Jesus doesn't um, um, look at him and say, "Why do you call me good?" Because Jesus is not good, but he says to him that because I believe he is addressing the point that he views Jesus as a human being, and he himself sees himself as a human being that is righteous. So he calls him a good master or good teacher, as in looking at the man rather than looking at God. And Jesus says, "Why do you call me good? No one is good except for God alone." And he puts him right. And then he answers his question about how to enter into heaven. And he says, "You know the commandments: do not murder, do not commit adultery, do not steal, do not bear false witness, do not defraud, honor your father and mother." And then he answers in his self-righteous way, and he says, "Teacher, all these things I have kept from my youth." But Jesus then points out the very thing that is lacking indeed in him. And he says, "You lack one thing. Go sell all that you have and give it to the poor, and you will have treasures in heaven, and come and follow me." So one of the issues of the heart is that we can rely a lot on goods, on the things we have achieved, on the things we may have, our possessions, but we ought to rely and have God as the one we love the most, the one where we rely on the most, where we put our trust in. And this man definitely lacked that. So disheartened, he walked away. And then he tells his disciples about how hard it is to come into the kingdom of God, and basically makes it clear that it is impossible by man to enter the kingdom. But he says in verse 27, Jesus looked at them and said, "With man it is impossible, but not with God, for all things are possible with God." It is God who enables us to be cloaked in his righteousness, to be free from our selfish desires and our trickeries of our own heart, which make us not to trust God or fully appreciate him and love him as God. Then he goes on and explains also about his time of crucifixion that is coming again. He's basically repeating for the third time that he is going to be put to death, and that his disciples should be prepared for it and ready, but they're still not understanding. Um, James and John, they come to him and they inquire about sitting on his right and left hand again. Um, Maybe understandable that they are walking with the Messiah. They are close with him, and they may think that this qualifies them to be maybe in heaven next to him. Um, but what he makes clear, it is not something that comes through his physical closeness to his disciple, but it is God who decides who deserves a place next to Jesus. And our value and our uh, honor from God comes through God's view in our hearts, and what he values the most, how we obey and follow him. So we should not aim to or seek honor in heaven that doesn't belong to us, but it's God who honors us if we trust him and serve him faithfully. And then Jesus then gives another, or in Mark gives another example of a blind man healed. This time this blind man is actually acknowledging Jesus. He's seeking Jesus actively, and he's asking for him to heal him. And in this example is beautiful because then he also not only gets healed, but he follows Jesus. So I hope this blesses you too. Have a lovely day. Bye.